Oh my God. Owen Jones just had an absolute clanger right at the hands of Piers Morgan of all people. I don't ever want to waste too much time, but if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and drop a like on the video. Let's get right into it.
Now by the columnist, political commentator Owen Jones, somebody else who I suspect on this issue of what the IDF is doing in Gaza, we'd have a lot of agreement on. But you and I locked horns a little bit on X a couple of days ago about what happened at Glastonbury. I just felt, Owen, that when people try and pretend what they mean is, well, we just mean the entity. We don't actually mean IDF soldiers. It's disingenuous.
When you have to resort to things like, oh, no, we didn't actually mean IDF soldiers, we just mean the entity. Well, guess what? The soldiers make up the entity. Like, the soldiers are a very important part of the entity. They physically represent the aims and the goals of the entity. So if you want to get rid of the entity, you also have to get rid of the people representing on the ground the entity itself. It's so you can clearly tell once you start making those kind of arguments. It's like, yeah, just admit you're wrong.
When a crowd chants death to the IDF, what they mean is they think IDF soldiers should be killed.
People talk about the death of institutions all the time. Keir Starmer, when he said the NHS must reform or die, did he mean, and maybe you should probably give a bit of warning to doctors, nurses and patients around the world, does he literally mean they're going to be killed?
Of course not.
Just be clear then.
You're comparing...
That is so different. It's so different. You're describing right there the example you just gave. It's so disanalogous. What he's saying, that's a descriptive claim. He's saying right there that the prime minister is saying, hey, with the way the NHS is going right now, inevitably the end road will be the destruction of the NHS. He's just describing to you what's happened. What he said at Glastonbury is not a description of things. He's saying that it should happen. That's the difference. One is describing what's happening, that inevitably that will be the end. This guy is calling for the death of the IDF. That's not describing anything. He's saying it should happen. That is so different.
You think that the NHS, so when people say the NHS will die, literally they say the NHS will die without reform, are they saying that they're going to be the mass murder of doctors and patients?
So to be clear, when you watch that rapper at Glastonbury chanting and leading a chant with thousands joining in of death to the IDF, you instinctively believe...
He said it himself. He said...
Oh, no, he said it since.
Well, no. Well, yes, you're right. Look, unlike you and I, we're both very verbose commentators.
Correct.
Let's be honest. We write at length, sometimes in pithier tweets, but I like to write at length what I think. And I think the IDF should be dismantled.
That's fine.
But he said himself it means the dismantling of a violent...
He said it since...
No, absolutely not. He absolutely did not mean dismantling the IDF. Absolutely not. It even makes no sense. But why would you call for dismantling of the IDF? Who do you think protects the people of Israel? Who do you think actually protects these people? So if IDF goes, what replaces it? Well, they have no army on the ground. They have no soldiers, nothing. Nothing that can intervene with the terrorism that they face. Like, what happens then? It literally makes no sense at all.
But he also said he's opposed to the death of Jews, Arabs, or any other race or group of people. And Piers, I don't want to be rude, but that puts him in a rather different category than your pro-Israel.
Hang on, when did he post? When did he post that?
Well, the next day.
Of course.
What do you mean, of course?
It wasn't the next day. It was actually the day after.
So you're saying that a rapper should have done a long verbose statement on stage? He's a rapper.
His initial response, as you know...
Let's just be honest.
No, man. I feel like I'm watching these right-wing grifters actually here. Like, genuinely. If you think the right is really bad at this kind of stuff, squirming away from questions and just... It genuinely feels like I'm watching a right-wing grifter right now. It's actually scary how when you're pressed into a corner, people can become right-wing. Genuinely, it's actually quite scary. Just admit you're wrong, that the guy is wrong. Just admit it's so simple.
Let me respond. His initial response the next day was not to apologise for anything, to cite his daughter and school meals.
He shouldn't apologise.
Right, that's fine. He doesn't have to.
No.
Right? Free speech means he doesn't have to. But he was dropped by his talent agency. He had his visa revoked, so he can't go on the tour he was planning in the United States. And then we saw this clarification, which bore a striking resemblance to what people who tried to justify it had been saying on social media, which is, I didn't mean soldiers. I meant just the institution.
Can I put this in? I honestly am interested to see what you think, because I'll come on to the false equivalence you also made. If the Russian army on Friday, if Russian officers and soldiers had confessed that they had been ordered to deliberately shoot Ukrainian civilians who they had been ordered to starve already. They'd put a total siege on Ukraine for several months. They had been ordered to shoot dead those unarmed, starving civilians, and they had killed over 600 of them, including an 18-month girl who they shot in the chest. And then the next day, having seen those reports, people chanted death to the Russian army, would you honestly, and you really do need to answer honestly here, and I want to just say it from the heart, would you honestly regard that as an outrage? Or would you regard that as an obvious emotional response to an absolute unbelievable war crime?
Right, so you accept then that the rapper was talking about soldiers?
No.
Why would you make that example then?
Do you believe him 100%?
Yes.
That when he said death to the IDF, he didn't mean individuals? Do you believe that?
Well, he's actually unlike. I mean, this is the irony. Do you know what the irony is?
Well, just answer my question first.
Yes, I do. And actually, it's
because I want to read you something.
Can I just?
I want to read you something.
Well,
because new footage has emerged.
His face right there. Oh my God. That's the face of a man that was like, oh shit. Like, damn. He has something I have no idea about. His face just dropped, literally. He has no idea what's coming.
And circulated today a Bob Ryland saying on stage, villain, death to every single IDF soldier, May 2025.
To be honest, I mean, I don't know about...
Oh my God. This is so bad. I was so sorry for him. Honestly, I feel so bad.
That footage, I haven't seen it. To be honest, that still puts him, I'm afraid to say, Piers, in a better category than most of your...
But he's completely contradicted everything you've just said.
I haven't
and to be honest,
I'm not Bob Villan's spokesperson.
By the way, I'm not playing gotcha. I just got told that myself.
No, fair enough.
They've literally put it on the iPad because it's gone round to...
Nah, Piers, that is a gotcha. I can't even lie. To keep...
Fair enough. I would never myself...
But clearly, that shows his actual meaning was not what he put as an excuse 2 days later. What he meant was death to every single IDF soldier.
That I honestly...
So then the argument becomes your one about the Russian troops in Ukraine. And my point is, coming from a family full of military, military do the orders of their government. Often on pain of imprisonment.
I'm afraid to say...
Often on pain... Well, you may want to say that that's not the case, but actually an army goes into battle and the orders... when we went into war against Iraq in 2003, many of those soldiers would have had serious misgivings.
Piers, you just made a...
So who is accountable? Tony Blair, who orders them in, or the soldiers who do their job?
Piers, we established at Nuremberg that I was just following orders is not a legal excuse. You're absolutely right. The perpetrators of genocide should be hauled before the courts. That's principally the likes of Benjamin Netanyahu and those at the top. But Israeli soldiers who are massacring knowingly unarmed civilians, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so
they are legally required. Strictly, they are legally required to refuse to enact those orders. Now, just on that point, by the way, people like myself oppose sending IDF soldiers into Gaza, and if that had happened, not only would hundreds of thousands potentially of Palestinians' lives and be saved and not maimed and all the rest, but those hundreds of Israeli soldiers wouldn't have been killed either. A lot of your guests, ironically, the pro-Israel guests, supported sending hundreds of IDF soldiers to their deaths in pursuit of what is a genocidal campaign of extermination.
What would you have done?
They always say genocidal campaign, genocidal campaign, genocidal campaign. You're fighting against terrorists. They use massively restricted and tight urban areas to fight against Israel, okay? Unfortunately, the casualty will always be high, just by the virtue of the way these terrorist groups actually fight. They use infrastructure like schools, like hospitals. They use holes underneath the ground. The casualty is always going to be high, unfortunately.
October the 8th, if you'd been Israel.
Yeah, what would you have done?
The Palestinians on the 7th of
October. Hang on. 3,000.
He won't answer it. He won't answer the question. What would you have done on the 8th after waking up to October the 7th? What would you actually do? What would you actually do?
Terrorists have come over the border.
Right.
They've annihilated 1,200 people. They've captured 250 plus hostages. 7,000 people were wounded.
What would you do?
With irrevocable injuries. What would you have done if you were
the problem with this is you're saying, well, if I was an apartheid state which had deliberately and systematically...
because if I was
Israel, I would create a single
So
state.
what would you have done? Nothing. Do you now
Because
accept that your defence of him was a little bit wrong?
I support.
Well, let's watch the clip. Here.
And death to every single IDF soldier out there as an agent of terror for Israel. Death to the IDF.
Yeah.
I've known you
Mate. Mate.
a long time. I have a lot of respect for you. You just have to admit when you hear that
You
were
just
wrong
gotta
to
admit.
defend him in the way you defended him. He didn't mean IDF.
people I was defending-
He didn't mean IDF the entity,
people
did
I-
it? But you accept now that you were wrong. He didn't mean that.
We both. I didn't hear. I've only heard for the first.
We've heard that.
Just say, all right, I got it wrong. He meant something else. Obviously, I was an idiot to believe otherwise. Only a child would believe otherwise. But okay, I was wrong. Just walk away with grace.
So what? Now you've heard that. Do you still say he only meant the
Well, no.
entity?
Obviously now he's made clear what he meant.
So you
by
accept
that.
you were wrong.
Well, yeah, because I obviously.
I know. I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you should have known.
Fine.
I'm just saying that
What
the
I'm-
Man, this position is so awkward. I feel so bad for him. Oh my God.
I found the defence very disingenuous by everybody, and I felt what he'd done, and this has now been proven. I think he'd gone on social media, he'd seen people coming up with this.
Yep,
but this is what-
exactly.
But he only meant the entity, and then knowing what
entity.
he said on stage.
All right.
Knowing what he said on stage, he issues a statement saying the complete opposite that he's read from people like you defending it.
Well, I
And now he's made all of you look like complete prunes.
No, the people I'm
Idiots.
defending principally are the people in the audience. I do not believe thousands of people attending Glastonbury were supporting that. And what I find actually even more grotesque, to be honest, and this is what I find grotesque. That view, which I don't support killing anyone, which is what IDF soldiers
Great.
shouldn't be
So then
sent.
we agree.
Shouldn't be sent into Gaza.
then we agree.
To kill.
What do you mean to not kill anyone? They're there to kill Hamas. What are you talking about?
And
Hang on, then we agree.
No, your guests.
You don't believe in killing it. I agree with you.
Your guests, who you treat as respectable people, come on this show, have more extreme views than he does.
On which side?
Because they
On which
pro-
side?
Now he's just deflecting. No one cares. Like, why would you even bring up the other people that he brings us to the show? This is such a deflecting, it's such a debate, bro, type tactic. Like, genuinely.
Because
But what about the pro-Palestinian guests I've had on, who the Israelis say are the most extreme people in the world?
Because the war crimes being committed.
Do you only care about extremists on one side?
Sorry,
Because I don't. I care about extremists on
The war crimes
both
being
sides.
committed by Israel are infinitely worse
Than what
the war
Hamas did?
Absolutely.
And obviously, this literally is what you always have to ask. It's not even about Israel having the right to defend itself. It's about the fact that if you go in and kill a specific demographic of people, that country inevitably will feel like, hey, we have to retaliate. There's no way you can capture and kill this many people that belong to us and you expect us to do nothing. It makes no sense. It's the other way as well. If Israel go into Palestine and kill people for no reason, then you can justify why Palestine would react and obviously retaliate. It totally makes sense. But what I would say is to withhold that information that, you know what, a new footage has actually come out, to withhold that from Piers is absolutely brutal. That is absolutely brutal. He literally waited for him to dig his own hole and then Piers just plunged them in there. Now, that is honestly crazy. But that's just my thoughts on the video. If you're new around there and you like the content, drop a like and also subscribe.